mornings. You don't dread Mondays or whatever, you know the point. You don't get, you actually have some reasons to go to work. Now, sometimes that passionate purpose can be you may be. Hello, everyone, and welcome to NorthStar community. So good to have you joining me again, and always look forward to doing these talks. Um, Again, any feedback for me, things to talk about, not to talk about, contact me just to talk about what's going on in your life. You can email me at csimpson@wgva.church. So always love to hear from you. So we talked about a rich, full, meaningful life, and I was thinking maybe it was good that we start to identify what a rich, full, meaningful life looks like, with a little more detail. So kind of big picture for me, if you ask me what does a rich, full, meaningful life look like, is you have a passionate purpose, which means you have joy and meaning in your life at some level. You have connection with healthy people. You have connection with God, means you have faith. You live with gratitude. You see the good in many things that a lot of people can't see or won't see. You set yourself up to be in position to help others, which research shows when people tell you about what they have gratitude towards you about, that's a major for you in a positive, how you view yourself. So those are, basically the big things. We live with purpose. We have enough faith in God and ourselves to move forward. We have healthy connections with family and friends, which means that we have to sometimes take hard stands with unhealthy people in our lives. And then we live with gratitude, and it's intentional gratitude where we seek to watch and look for gratitude, to things to be grateful for in our lives. So today, let's quickly talk about passionate purpose. That's one we've used. I get that from Dr. Paul, who's a psychologist out in California, and I like a lot of her stuff. So if we have passionate purpose, that means that we have meaning and we have joy in our lives at some level. Now, I always get a little jittery about passionate purpose talking about it, because I don't want you to think that it necessarily means that what you're doing professionally is that. But I will tell you this, it certainly is a lot easier when you're doing a job, when you're doing a profession, on a business, that means something to you, that's bigger than you. It gets you up in the mornings. You don't dread Mondays or whatever, you know the point. You don't get, you actually have some reasons to go to work. Now, sometimes that passionate purpose can be you may be in a job that maybe pays well but isn't as fulfilling as you like, but it enables you to do other things elsewhere, like maybe volunteer somewhere, coach somewhere. So that's why I say don't get this tied into passionate purpose, meaning what your job is or your profession. But I would just say, I think we all know this, we spend a great deal of time working. And if we're unhappy there, it spills over into our other parts of our lives. So anyway, it's just something to think about. So I'm going to read Psalms 89 here. Again, this is David writing. Your love, God, is my song, and I'll sing it. I'm forever telling everyone how faithful you are. I'll never quit telling the story of your love, how you built the cosmos and guaranteed everything in it. Your love has always been our life's foundation. Your fidelity has been the roof of our world. You once said, I joined forces with my chosen leader. I pledge my word to my servant David, saying, everyone descending from you is guaranteed life. I'll make your rule as solid as lasting rock. So that's pretty good. I mean, David has purpose here. He's being told that his life has meaning and purpose. Now, he's a king, so obviously I don't think that world and life was as good as we think it was, but he certainly had a lot of purpose. So what does passionate purpose mean? That means that we have both joy and we have meaning. So joy plus meaning equals passionate purpose. I suppose we can have meaning in our jobs, and we always feel joy about that. Some of us, work in some tough areas. or we may have joy in some things we do, but if we don't feel like it's important, that may take away some of the effect there. But I do believe, and I hope you believe, that God does want what's best for us. And I think that if we can go down the path that God created us, then I also believe that He created us, that He has a plan for each and every one of us. And that's big. I know that's hard to wrap our heads around sometimes, but it certainly is a way to look at things. And again, we get back to the connection with God, the faith that we have. Do we believe that God loves us? Did God create us? Did God love us? Does God want what's best for us? Does God have a plan for us? If we start believing that, life can get better, because when we know that God's there with us. And let's be honest too. If you're here watching this, you're at some form of recovery. It could be marital recovery. It could be codependency recovery. It could be compulsive behavior recovery. It could be substance recovery. Whatever it is, I think we can all agree that if we are addictive a lot of our life, if we have addictive thinking, we are not going to have a passionate purpose. It's not possible, because addiction is telling us to survive. And so I think the difference between rich, full, meaningful life, if we had rich, full, meaningful life on this side of the spectrum, and we had surviving addiction on this side, we're on a spectrum. We want to figure that out, how to get where we want to. And so if a one is addiction, survival, chaos, harm, emptiness, all the things that we do at that level, and 10 is a rich, full, meaningful life where we have passionate purpose, we have great friends, our family life is good, we're healthy there, we live with gratitude, we're financially stable, health is good. I mean, we can go on the list here. So, if we could just get past 5, we're doing pretty good, I think. And certainly, I'm not trying to be cynical, but there's, life's tough. And there's a lot of loss in life. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of trauma. All those things. But if we have a passionate purpose, that is kind of the foundation that helps us get past some of that pain in a faster and more healthy way. So as you remember, we talk about this all the time. Is I don't care about your childhood, but I do care about how your childhood affects you today. And if you had trauma in your life, if you had abandonment in your life, you had childhood neglect in your life, or in your other, life since then, if you had major trauma, it's hard for you to move on. It's hard for you to even consider having a passionate purpose. That's like foreign, because you wouldn't want to do that, because you would be vulnerable. And that's what I see with NorthStar in our support groups a lot of times, is that we are threatened by having a passionate purpose. It scares us, because we've just learned to loathe ourselves. We've learned to attack ourselves. We've learned to judge ourselves harshly. And that's why when Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself, I think what he was I interpret that as obviously to be kind to others. But I think they're part of that for us to be kind to ourselves. We can't really love others if we don't love ourselves. And it's going to be very difficult for us to have a passionate purpose if we despise ourselves. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's kind of a tailspin situation if you're not careful, is you don't have passionate purpose because you're so busy surviving. So because you're surviving so much, you don't have passionate purpose, and you're just going to be miserable. And so you just got to stop. You got to start breaking the cycles. You got to start doing some things. And this is a quote I read. I'm sure you've seen it somewhere. But everybody's a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And man, it's kind of a humorous statement, right? But it really reflects a lot about for a lot of us that we are out of our field and our depth of what we're really good at. We're not in the world we need to be in. We haven't gravitated towards that. I think this is where other things fit together: prayer, faith, trusting that God will help you find your passionate purpose, and will help you to decide what his plan is for you. Those are all things you have to seek with him. You have to do it regularly. And the other thing I think that we have to overcome is our toxic shame. And we talk about this a lot. You know, when we go through, a lot of us go through the childhoods we have, we not only was war declared on us, we declared war on us. And that's what we've been doing. That's what recovery is about, is getting us to forgive ourselves, giving us to be aware of how our past create issues today, but also how our past help us better. And, you know, we just always have to remember this, that when we look at trauma, the way to overcome trauma is to talk about it at a pace you can handle, right? You don't want to do it fast and furious because that's overwhelming to your system. Your body will fight you for that. But if you can talk about it in a way that you can start putting order to it, and then eventually what happens is you get to see trauma as a gift. And I know that's hard to hear. If you're early in stages of recovery, you've got to be saying, what are you talking about? But here's the thing. You can't turn the clock back, and there's only two choices you have. You're going to let the trauma destroy you. Well, three choices, really. You're going to let the trauma destroy you and become an angry, resentful, bitter person who's addictive and will die early in life because of all that. Or you can choose to make it a gift and see how it's made you stronger, more empathetic towards others, compassionate for other people, hopefully help you to see the importance of how short life is, but also how important life is and how we need to grasp life and move forward with it. And I guess the third choice is, and I see this a lot, is we can just grow numb, live in the middle, be cynical, don't expect much, live that quiet life of desperation that one author talks about. I guess there's three options to the two, but I hope we will try. The fact you're watching this, I hope, is your way of saying, I need to recover. I need to get past the surviving. I need to get past the bitterness, the fear, the resentments that I have at those that harm me, particularly if there were people of authority that were close to you. And one of the things that is taken from us when we are traumatized or excuse me, or when we're traumatized in some ways, is that we lose our sense of safety and security. And I put those two different terms. Security is that I'm physically safe. I live in a house that's not going to fall in on me. I'm not coming home to someone who's abusing me. I have food, those kind of things. Safety is what I see as emotional. And that is where you're coming home to a place that is safe, it's calm, it's fulfilling. You look forward to coming home. That's a safe and secure home. A lot of us don't have that. We have abuse going on, or we have deep despair levels. We're lonely, we're sad, and then we become addictive in our behaviors at home with compulsive behaviors or substances or people, whatever it is. But here's what we have to start to see, is that every one of you are good at something. It took me a while to figure that out for myself, and I'm not here to talk about myself, but I'm a good example of, I thought I was terribly flawed. I thought I had some level knowing I was smart in some ways. I was verbal. I was, able to connect with people. But I was brought up on a farm where being mechanically talented, being inspired by the soil, understanding plant life, all those things, fed cattle, and all those things were big. And it just wasn't things that I really was interested in. Now, it wasn't I necessarily disliked those things. It's just I wasn't terribly interested in it. So I lived a long time with my life of wondering when I was going to grow up and actually become a good farmer. Well, that was never going to happen, and thank God for that. And then what happened was I finally figured out that what I'm pretty good at, I'm not good at fixing cars, but I'm pretty good at being a catalyst for others to come talk to me and come to group and all those kind of things. and I'm good at helping others see themselves better so they can make the decisions they need to make to move on to a rich, full, meaningful life. And once I got comfortable with that, it was okay. I kind of wish my parents were still around. They both passed away. Because they were always kind of waiting for me when I was finally going to wake up and realize what, get a real job was. So anyway, always joke about that. But it was painful to me as a kid to not feel like I was enough. I never felt like, I felt like I was mediocre. When the fact is, I'm pretty smart, pretty talented. I got some good DNA in me. And now I'm finally to a point, and it took me a long time in my adult life to get here, but I'm to a point where I feel like I have passion and purpose. I feel like I'm doing what I was meant to do. I still have my insecurities, all those things, so don't think otherwise. But so I guess the question is, how about if I said to all of us that every one of us is a genius? We are really good. I know people. I mean, I love being around techs. You know what I mean? Because I think I always heard it growing up what a failure I was because I wasn't being a good technician. I love when an HVAC tech comes by, or I used to love when I worked in the broadband world. I'd love going out with the technician, just watching them just fix something or create something. They just did it so easily and so masterfully. And mechanics, love watching them in action. Just fun to watch them. And because I think it's so cool. Well, when I started to realize that people are also, observable behaviors pattern, that's a big thing to understand in my world, then you can start doing stuff with people. So I am not a genius when it comes to landscaping. I love landscape. I love to look at places just been so beautifully created. I wouldn't be able to come up with that beautiful layout because they know what they're doing. When I take my car to a mechanic, it just amazes me. They go, "This is what the problem is, what we need to do." And I'm like, how'd you know that, right? It's because they have the tools, they have the knowledge, all that stuff. So we're all really good at some things. And I hope that for you that listen to this, you've gravitated to that at some level. Somehow God has helped you accidentally or on purpose get to where you need to get. I remember one time I love to tell a story about it. He was a friend of mine from college, and I saw him about 3 years after he graduated, and might have been a little bit more than that, maybe 5 years. And he had graduated, he was a lawyer. And so I said to him, do you like being a lawyer? Is it really good? And he goes, "No, it sucks. I hate it. But it's the only thing I can do to make this much money." And I don't know, that was a long time ago, so I don't know if he ended up still being an attorney or not. But I would think that was not the answer I was looking for, and I'm sure it's not what he wanted. And I hope he has gone on to find, that he's found joy in what he does there. One of the problems is we have toxic shame. It's hard for us to see our genius. That's really hard for us. And the problem is we'll talk about in Rich, Full, Meaningful Life a lot more is the ability to take risks, the ability to fail, to see failure as a gift in our quest to figure out what our passion and purpose is. I've always said that I think it's always good that I hope all of us have had really miserable jobs. I hope you're still not in them, but I hope we've all had miserable jobs so it will help us appreciate the good things we have now. It's just, we got to just think about what brings us joy. What brings us meaning? That's how we can kind of figure out what our genius is, right? We need to pay attention to what creates excitement in us, interest in us. What do we look forward to doing? That's why I said sometimes it may not be work. I just hope your work's not too miserable. But if you're working in something it's not your passion and purpose, but it's creating a life for you that gives you a chance to do other things, what is it when you come home you look forward to doing? Maybe you have a hobby, maybe you have an interest, all those kind of things, something you like to fix, those kind of things. But I hope that you can get past what you're supposed to be good at or what you're supposed to be doing and figure out what it is that you want to be doing. And there's a saying called flow, and it's like when something that you get so engrossed in and so that time just like disappears, the next thing you look up, it's 3 hours later, which is both frustrating and cool because this has enthralled you so much, you haven't worried about time. The problem is you wish you had more time to keep doing it. But Rumi, who's kind of a poet guy. He wrote, "When you do something from your soul, you feel a river moving in you, a joy." And that's a pretty good description of passion and purpose. Um, this is something we need to keep looking at, is that what it is that creates excitement in us, gives us joy, gives us meaning, and things that we're doing that doesn't give us that are road signs that tell us we need to go a different direction. And then the other thing, real fast, I want to talk about is true self and wounded self. True self is, I think at the end of the day, I'm a lovable person. I am talented. I'm smart. I accept my strengths. I accept my flaws. I work on the things I need to get better at, but I also see the good in me. Because of that, I have good people in my life. I can tell them what I need. And then God is my master. That truly is true self. Wounded self is, now wounded self's purpose is to keep us safe. It sees itself, now talking about it having passion and purpose, our wounded self has lots of meaning. I'm not sure there's joy in this, but our wounded self says, do not take risks, do not fail, be safe, make sure everything around you is as safe as you can make it, so you don't have any failures, and just be careful, right? Well, I mean, you can kind of see where wounded self thinks it's doing us a favor, but that's a hard way to live, to just live so cautiously, not to get out, not to experience the world, not to experience new people, all those kind of things. And so what the problem with wounded self is, it's our toxic shame. It says to us that we are not valuable, we're not lovable. If you really got to know me, you really wouldn't love me. That's a hard way to live. And then because of that, you start saying that, people around me are just going to harm me. I don't value myself enough to set healthy boundaries with people, so I do get harmed. And, people don't meet my needs when I need them, and my addictions become my true master in my life. So I'm hoping that we can start thinking about this a little bit. I spent a great deal of time on passion and purpose, but it really is as important. And I think if you don't have purpose in your life, you're going to be pretty sad. I was listening to the Huberman Lab not too long ago, and he had a pretty prominent psychiatrist on there who'd been in the practice for a long time. And he asked him, what do you see as what the people you see who are the happiest in the world, who in their lives they seem to be the most content, happy, what do they have? And the guy said they have purpose and they have gratitude. So I think that's a pretty good answer. So just start thinking about, do I have things in my life that I look forward to doing? And again, if we're addicted, that's not looking for it. You're using it because you have to get through the day. Now you look forward to the high and all that, but that's different. We're talking about a healthy, growing feelings of healthiness that help us to have a great life. And if we're going to have that, we want, so we just, I guess I hope I'm making my point here. We need a purpose, and a passionate purpose is another way of saying a purpose that's bigger than ourselves. It connects with other people. We're in a setting that makes sense, and we look forward to waking up in the mornings. That's passion and purpose. So if you have passion and purpose, you're going to be available to others. You're going to get past your addictive thinking much faster. When things go wrong, you'll respond in ways that make more sense. So we need to think about this a little bit more, right? We need to see ourselves as expressions of our value of God. We need to see ourselves as God sees us, because He loves us. He created us. We then can take ourselves by seeing our worthiness and lovableness we have. So we can do this. And also we need to give ourselves permission to be successful. So anyway, I hope this has been a little bit helpful to you. We all want you to have a rich, full, meaningful life. So let's work on it. Let's make 2025 that year where we just make progress on this. And I can tell you, I know many people, and I guess I include myself in this too, wasn't ever sure we could have a rich, full, meaningful life, but we're starting to see we can, and are starting to have one. So, and as you can guess, it's an unending journey, but it just gets better and better. So Anyway, thanks for joining today. Again, if you want to contact me, you can contact me at csimpson@wgva.church. We meet on Wednesdays and Fridays at 6:30. We feed you. We have childcare. So I mean, we take care of you. So you don't need to go home and eat. Your kids can come with us. Anyway, the kids seem to have a great time when they're here. So I'm glad that you joined us. And let's close with a prayer of serenity. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as a pathway to peace. Taking as Jesus did, the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it. Trusting that Jesus will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. Amen. Again, thank you for joining. Have a great week and start thinking about that passionate purpose.